Before restarting the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Story 1. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, her heart heavy with a mixture of anticipation and sorrow. The room felt suffocating, the walls bearing witness to countless arguments that had gradually eroded the foundation of their once vibrant love. The photographs on the dresser captured moments of happiness that now seemed like distant memories, mere echoes of a time when their lives were entwined in joy. Michael, her husband of 20 years, walked into the room, his gaze weary and laden with regret. He paused at the threshold, uncertainty etched into the lines on his face. "Emily," he murmured, his voice tinged with longing. Can we have one last time?" Emily's breath caught in her throat as a wave of conflicting emotions surged within her. She had spent countless nights lying awake, contemplating the irreversible decision that had brought them to this point. The ache of loneliness had seeped into every fiber of her being, leaving her feeling lost and unfulfilled. Yet she had resolved to let go, to break free from the chains of a failing marriage that had become a source of endless pain. As Michael crawled into bed beside her, the familiarity of his touch ignited a spark of nostalgia, stirring memories of a time when they were each other's refuge. The scent of his cologne lingered in the air, intertwining with the bittersweet fragrance of what they once had. Their bodies gravitated towards one another, instinctively seeking solace in this last embrace. In that moment, Emily's mind became a battlefield of conflicting desires. The weight of their history bore down on her, intertwining with the longing for a connection that had been absent for too long. Her heart yearned for the love they had lost, for the laughter and shared dreams that had dissolved into silence. But as their bodies intertwined, the harsh reality resurfaced. It was a desperate plea for intimacy, a final attempt to salvage what was left of their broken bond. The tears welled in Emily's eyes, her heart aching with the knowledge that this fleeting act would not fix the chasm that had formed between them. As they lay there, entangled in a mixture of longing and regret, Emily's mind wandered back to the early days of their relationship, when their love had been a beacon of hope. They had been two souls intertwined, their laughter echoing through the corridors of their shared dreams. Yet somewhere along the way, they had lost their way, and the darkness had crept in, gradually extinguishing the flames of their love. The weight of their impending divorce loomed over them, casting a shadow that neither could ignore. It was a decision born out of necessity, an acknowledgement that they had become strangers trapped in a loveless union. The thought of starting anew both terrified and excited Emily, but it was a choice she had to make for her own sanity. As they lay side by side, the silence between them spoke volumes. They were caught in the twilight between what was and what could have been. The night stretched on, heavy with unspoken words and unanswered questions. Each breath they shared seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 unfulfilled promises, a testament to the intricate tapestry of their lives unraveling before them. Tomorrow, the final divorce proceedings awaited them, where they would face the reality of their shattered dreams head-on. Emily knew that this last intimate act was not a reconciliation, but rather a bittersweet farewell to what they once were. She closed her eyes, clinging to the remnants of a love that had slipped through their fingers. As the dawn broke, casting its soft golden light upon the room, Emily's mind drifted back to the early years of their marriage. They had been so full of hope, brimming with dreams and aspirations that seemed boundless. Michael had been her rock, a source of strength and unwavering support. They had weathered storms together, celebrating victories and comforting each other through defeats. But life has a way of chiseling away at even the strongest foundations. The cracks in their relationship had started subtly, like hairline fractures in a porcelain vase. Each disappointment and setback had deepened those fault lines, causing their love to splinter further with every passing year. Emily's thoughts wandered to the loss they had endured, their cherished daughter, Lily. The pain of her absence was a constant ache in their hearts, an invisible burden that neither knew how to bear. Grief had overwhelmed them, their mourning taking different shapes. Michael withdrew into his work, immersing himself in the solitude of his office, while Emily sought solace in support groups, desperately trying to find a way to heal. Their divergent paths bred resentment, creating an ever-widening chasm between them. Communication became strained, their words laden with unspoken frustrations and unmet expectations. The dreams they had once shared seemed to fade into the distant horizon, replaced by a stark reality they were ill-prepared to face. Amidst their struggles, secrets festered beneath the surface, hidden from prying eyes. Emily discovered a series of flirtatious messages exchanged between Michael and a mutual friend, David. The betrayal cut deep, shattering what little trust remained. Confrontations were met with denial, but the damage had been done. The breach of fidelity, the lies, and the deceit served as a turning point in their relationship, further fracturing their fragile bond. Emily's sister, Sarah, had been a confidant throughout their journey. She had witnessed the slow decay of their love, offering support and a listening ear. Sarah's presence had been a lifeline for Emily, a reminder that she was not alone in her struggle. But even Sarah couldn't mend the broken pieces of their shattered marriage. In the midst of their unraveling, therapy had been attempted, but their sessions turned into battlegrounds where accusations flew like shrapnel. The wounds they inflicted on each other seemed irreparable, the scars etched deeply into their souls. Through the haze of regret and lost dreams, Emily and Michael found solace in their separate corners. She threw herself into her work, seeking validation and purpose beyond the confines of their disintegrating relationship. Michael, too, sought refuge elsewhere, filling the void with the company of other women, desperate to feel desired and alive once again. Their children, once caught in the crossfire of their arguments, had become silent observers. Emily and Michael did their best to shield them from the bitter reality of their crumbling marriage, but children are perceptive. They felt the icy atmosphere that permeated their home, their innocence tainted by the weight of their parents' despair. As Emily looked back on the past, regrets flooded her being. The what-ifs and could-have-beens haunted her, intertwining with the ache of a love that had slipped through her fingers. She wondered if they could have fought harder, if they could have salvaged their marriage before it had reached this breaking point. But time, like an unstoppable force, had carried them forward. The day of the divorce proceedings loomed before them, casting a long shadow over their shared history. Emily knew that the decision she had made was the right one, a necessary step towards reclaiming her own happiness and sense of self. Emily's world had become a tapestry of secrets, woven with threads of deceit and betrayal. The weight of these hidden truths pressed upon her, threatening to suffocate her resolve for a fresh start. In the midst of her personal struggle, the web of their intertwined lives began to unravel further, revealing even more unsettling revelations. Amidst her emotional turmoil, Emily confided in Sarah, her sister, seeking solace and guidance. Together, they sifted through the shards of their shattered reality, determined to uncover the truth that lay buried beneath the surface. Sarah, armed with her unwavering loyalty, embarked on a mission to confront Michael's best friend, David, the catalyst behind the cracks in Emily and Michael's marriage. Sarah's confrontation with David unveiled a labyrinth of tangled emotions and hidden desires. David, a long-standing friend of Michael's, confessed to his own long-standing infatuation with Emily. The boundaries of loyalty had blurred, and their connection had extended far beyond what either Emily or Michael had suspected. The revelation struck a devastating blow, leaving Emily to grapple with the realization that the betrayal had reached far deeper than she had ever imagined. Meanwhile, Michael had been harboring his own secrets. In a moment of vulnerability, he had sought solace in the arms of another woman. The guilt weighed heavily on him, and the shame of his actions haunted his every waking moment. Although he had justified his indiscretions as a coping mechanism for the crumbling marriage, he couldn't escape the searing remorse that gnawed at his conscience. As the truth unraveled, their close-knit circle of friends and family felt the tremors of their fractured relationships. The shockwaves reverberated through their lives, exposing fractures in other seemingly strong alliances. Loyalties were tested, friendships strained, as the fallout from Emily and Michael's crumbling marriage spilled over into the lives of those around them. The revelation of these hidden truths fueled a maelstrom of emotions within Emily. Anger and betrayal battled with the remnants of love that still lingered. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a harsh reality that had eluded her for far too long. The depth of the deceit left her grappling with questions of self-worth and the foundations upon which she had built her life. Amidst the chaos, Emily and Michael found themselves on separate paths of self-discovery. Emily delved into therapy, unraveling the layers of her own emotional baggage and striving to rebuild her fractured self-esteem. She sought solace in the support of close friends, finding comfort in their unwavering loyalty and guidance. Michael, burdened with guilt and remorse, embarked on his own journey of introspection. He sought forgiveness and redemption, driven by the realization that he had lost sight of the person he once was. His encounters with other women became a stark reflection of his own shortcomings, prompting him to confront his deepest fears and confront the demons that had haunted him for far too long. Throughout this period of personal struggle, their children bore witness to the aftermath of their parents' shattered lives. They grappled with confusion and heartache, navigating the tumultuous waters of their own emotions. Emily and Michael, keenly aware of the impact their actions had on their children, attempted to shield them from the worst of their discord, offering reassurance and stability in an uncertain world. As the dust settled, Emily and Michael found themselves standing on opposite sides of a precipice. Their individual journeys of self-discovery had unearthed painful truths and tested their resilience. Yet, amidst the wreckage of their marriage, they began to glimpse the possibility of redemption and forgiveness. Story 2. Elizabeth stood in front of the bathroom sink, trembling with anticipation as she stared at the pregnancy test in her hand. After years of disappointment and heartache, she couldn't believe her eyes. Two faint lines appeared, confirming what she had longed for: a tiny life growing within her at the age of 48. Excitement mingled with fear as Elizabeth's mind raced with thoughts of the journey ahead. The memories of failed attempts to conceive during her marriage to Richard flooded her thoughts. The countless doctor's appointments, fertility treatments, and the emotional strain they had endured were etched into her soul. Her marriage had ultimately succumbed to the weight of their shared pain and disappointment. They had grown apart, their dreams of a family slipping away like sand through their fingers. Divorce became their bitter reality, leaving Elizabeth feeling shattered and alone. As Elizabeth adjusted to life as a single woman, she focused on finding fulfillment beyond motherhood. She built a successful career, forged deep friendships, and learned to love herself. Yet the longing for a child remained, an ache that never truly subsided. Days turned into weeks, and Elizabeth's belly began to swell with the precious life growing inside her. She marveled at the miracle happening within her body, feeling a mix of joy and trepidation. It was during a routine checkup at the hospital that her world collided with her past. Standing in the hospital corridor, Elizabeth spotted her ex-husband, Richard. He was as familiar as ever, his tall frame and chiseled features still possessing an air of authority. His eyes widened as he caught sight of her, and for a fleeting moment, Elizabeth hoped for a glimmer of support or congratulations. But Richard's reaction shattered her hopes. With a venomous glare, he hissed, "Disgusting." The words hummed in the air, stabbing at Elizabeth's vulnerable heart. The nearby nurse turned pale, her eyes widening in shock. She rushed to a nearby doctor, urgently whispering something Elizabeth couldn't hear. Confusion washed over Elizabeth as she watched the nurse and doctor exchange worried glances. Something was amiss, and the weight of uncertainty settled upon her. What did they know? What had Richard seen that left him so repulsed? As Elizabeth made her way to her appointment, her mind raced with questions and apprehension. The unexpected encounter with Richard had shaken her to the core, leaving her to wonder what secrets and surprises awaited her on this unforeseen journey of motherhood. Chapter 2. A journey through memories. Elizabeth sat in her cozy living room, a cup of tea cradled in her hands, her thoughts drifting back to the early days of her relationship with Richard. They had been a picture-perfect couple, their love seemingly boundless. Their shared dreams of starting a family had filled their conversations, creating a tapestry of hope and anticipation. But as the years passed, those dreams turned into heartache. Elizabeth and Richard faced the crushing blow of infertility, embarking on a tumultuous journey to conceive. They endured countless doctors' visits, invasive procedures, and the roller coaster of hope and disappointment with each failed attempt. The strain of infertility wore on their marriage, eroding the foundation of love and trust they had once built. The endless pressure to conceive weighed heavily on their shoulders, driving a wedge between them. Frustration and blame replaced the tenderness and support they had once shared. Elizabeth sat in her cozy living room, a cup of tea cradled in her hands, her thoughts drifting back to the early days of her relationship with Richard. They had been a picture-perfect couple, their love seemingly boundless. Their shared dreams of starting a family had filled their conversations, creating a tapestry of hope and anticipation. But as the years passed, those dreams turned into heartache. Elizabeth and Richard faced the crushing blow of infertility, embarking on a tumultuous journey to conceive. They endured countless doctors' visits, invasive procedures, and the roller coaster of hope and disappointment with each failed attempt. The strain of infertility wore on their marriage, eroding the foundation of love and trust they had once built. The endless pressure to conceive weighed heavily on their shoulders, driving a wedge between them. Frustration and blame replaced the tenderness and support they had once shared. Their love became entangled in a web of medical jargon and whispered prayers. The desperation to hold a child in their arms consumed their every waking moment. Elizabeth and Richard sought solace in various treatments, each promising a glimmer of hope. Yet the relentless march of time only added to their despair. As the years passed, the strain on their marriage became unbearable. Richard buried himself in work, seeking solace in his career rather than facing the painful reality of their situation. Elizabeth, on the other hand, sought support from friends and online communities, desperate for guidance and understanding. The breaking point came when Richard suggested they explore other options, such as adoption or surrogacy. Elizabeth, still clinging to the hope of conceiving a child naturally, couldn't bear the thought of giving up on her dream. The disagreement grew into a chasm that neither of them knew how to bridge. With heavy hearts, they decided to separate, hoping that time apart would heal their wounds and provide clarity. The divorce was painful, their dreams of a happy family shattered. Elizabeth mourned the loss of the life they had envisioned together, and Richard grappled with his own sense of failure. In the aftermath of their separation, Elizabeth found solace in her friendships, especially her best friend, Sarah. Sarah became her rock, offering unwavering support and a shoulder to lean on during the darkest moments. Together, they navigated the complexities of singlehood and the challenges of rebuilding a life that had been shattered by infertility. Elizabeth threw herself into her career, finding fulfillment and purpose in her work. She learned to redefine her identity, discovering strength she didn't know she possessed. The pain of infertility lingered, but she refused to let it define her. During this period of self-discovery, Elizabeth met Dr. Johnson, a compassionate and empathetic fertility specialist. Driven by his own personal experiences with infertility, he understood the depths of her longing and the wounds that had yet to heal. Their shared journey, along with Dr. Johnson's guidance, gave Elizabeth a newfound sense of hope. As she sipped her tea, Elizabeth reflected on the journey that had led her to this moment, sitting in her living room, pregnant against all odds. The memories of her tumultuous past mingled with the anticipation of the future. She couldn't help but wonder how her newfound pregnancy would shape her relationship with Richard, and whether their shared pain could ever be mended. With a mix of trepidation and determination, Elizabeth resolved to confront her past and embrace the unexpected twist of fate that awaited her. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on, guided by the strength she had discovered within herself. Elizabeth's pregnancy progressed steadily, her growing belly a constant reminder of the miracle unfolding within her. However, the encounter with Richard at the hospital had left her with a lingering sense of unease. The venomous words he had uttered and the shocked reactions of the nurse and doctor haunted her thoughts. Determined to uncover the truth, Elizabeth sought answers. She reached out to the nurse who had witnessed the confrontation, hoping that she held the key to the mystery. They met in a quiet cafe, the nurse's name tag reading Emily. Emily took a deep breath, her eyes filled with compassion and apprehension. "Elizabeth, there's something you need to know," she began, her voice trembling. "The person Richard called disgusting. It's not you. It's something else entirely." Elizabeth's heart raced, her mind swirling with possibilities. She urged Emily to reveal the truth, desperate to understand the shocking revelation that had left Richard so repulsed. Taking a deep breath, Emily disclosed the secret that had been hidden for years. "Richard had an affair during your marriage," she revealed, her voice barely above a whisper. "The person you referred to as disgusting is the child that was born out of that affair." Elizabeth felt her world crumble around her. The betrayal cut deep, and she struggled to comprehend the extent of Richard's deception. The dreams they had shared, the hopes for a family, they had all been shattered by the very person she had once trusted the most. Emily continued, explaining that Richard had kept the affair a secret, terrified of the consequences it would have on their marriage and their chances of conceiving. He had made a heart-wrenching choice to hide the truth, his guilt manifesting in bitterness and anger towards Elizabeth's pregnancy. A maelstrom of emotions flooded Elizabeth. Anger, hurt, and disbelief mingled within her, threatening to consume her. The once cherished memories of their relationship now felt tarnished, tainted by the weight of Richard's betrayal. In the midst of her pain, Elizabeth found solace in her support system. She turned to Sarah, her best friend, who had stood by her side through thick and thin. Sarah provided a listening ear and a comforting presence, reminding Elizabeth of her worth and resilience. As Elizabeth grappled with the revelation, Dr. Johnson, her compassionate fertility specialist, became her anchor. He offered guidance and reassurance, helping her navigate the complex emotions and decisions that lay ahead. Through his unwavering support, she found the strength to confront Richard and address the impact of his actions on their unborn child. With a mix of trepidation and determination, Elizabeth mustered the courage to confront Richard. They met in a neutral setting, the heaviness of their shared history lingering in the air. Richard's face betrayed a mix of remorse and regret as he watched Elizabeth, his voice shaking with emotion. "I never meant for any of this to happen," Richard confessed, tears welling in his eyes. "The affair was a mistake, and I can't undo the pain I've caused you. But please believe me when I say that I want to be a part of our child's life." Elizabeth felt a myriad of conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, and a flicker of compassion. She understood the gravity of the situation, recognizing that their unborn child deserved a chance at a loving and supportive family, despite the circumstances of their conception. While forgiveness was a distant horizon, Elizabeth knew that co-parenting would be their shared responsibility. She made it clear that rebuilding trust would take time, but she was willing to explore a future where their child would know both parents. The moral of these two stories is that life is filled with unexpected twists and turns, and sometimes the greatest challenges can lead to unexpected blessings. In the first story, Elizabeth's journey through love, loss, and personal struggle ultimately leads her to the miracle of pregnancy. It teaches us that even in the face of heartbreak and shattered dreams, resilience and self-discovery can pave the way for new beginnings. Elizabeth's determination to find fulfillment beyond motherhood, her pursuit of a successful career, and her ability to love herself are important lessons in finding strength and embracing the unexpected joys that life has to offer. In the second story, the revelation of Richard's betrayal and the discovery of a hidden child teach us about the complexities of trust, forgiveness, and the power of facing difficult truths. Elizabeth's unwavering resilience and her willingness to co-parent despite the circumstances show the importance of putting the well-being of the child first, even in the face of personal pain. The story emphasizes that life is filled with complexities and that relationships and families are often tested. But it is through honesty, understanding, and the capacity for forgiveness that healing and growth can occur. Both stories underscore the importance of inner strength, the support of loved ones, and the ability to adapt to life's unexpected turns. They highlight the resilience of the human spirit and the power of love, even in the face of loss and adversity. Ultimately, they teach us that it is through our struggles and challenges that we can find the courage to embrace new beginnings, mend broken relationships, and discover the beauty that emerges from unexpected circumstances.